and thank you so much for joining me on the Janine Hernandez TV show. Today, I have the honor of having Miss Jessica Flaska, who is a travel agent, a mortgage loan officer, and an author with us. So I'm super excited to have her with us. She's going to be talking to us a little bit more about her book, or should I say books. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, I'm super excited to get to know you a little bit more and have our listeners and viewers get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? How did you get started in writing, etc.? Kind of go with it.
Writing would have had to have started in junior high. My English teacher wanted us to write that short story. I cannot do short stories for the life of me. So for when that assignment was due, I ended up going into her classroom and handing in this binder with 150 pages and told her I'm too embarrassed to turn it in with the rest of the class. So that ended up opening my eyes to writing, and I've just been doing it ever since then. But I never had the courage to actually publish a book until 2008.
Oh, 2008 is when you first published your first book. What was the name of that book?
Two Storms.
Two Storms. Okay. And what kind of books do you write?
I write mystery, murder mystery, romance. I do adult as well, supernatural, and Strawberry Wine is the first one I've done that is more into women's fiction.
Awesome. So you write quite a few genres. So I'm curious to know, how many books have you written? Because 2008 was, quite some time ago. How many books have you written?
My 33rd book was just released today, actually.
Oh my God, that is so amazing. 33 books. And Strawberry Wine is the book that came out today?
No, Strawberry Wine came out about a week and a half ago. Today it was Lily, book 2 of The Witch's Secrets.
Oh my God, guys. Did you hear this? Are you guys listening? If you guys are watching, did you hear this? 33 books. So I've been writing since I was about 9, and that is just inspirational. Oh my God. I'm so excited because I'm like, okay, you wrote 33 books. I know that I could do that too. Where do you find the time to write?
Pretty much on my days off. I have 3 days off, so I pretty much spend 2 of those days writing, and then sometimes after work, usually if it's in the summertime or springtime, I'll be writing until midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. Other than that, it's just whenever the mood strikes, because that writer's block, sometimes it really likes to creep in on you.
What an inspiration. How do you overcome that writer's block?
I will usually turn on music. It seems like depending on the type of book I'm writing is going to depend on the music. If it's murder mystery, it's going to be more of the heavy metal, stuff like that. Anything that's going to kind of bring out the somewhat darker side to be able to reach into that character's mind and to know what they're thinking. For romance, it's usually going to be the lighter music, hip hop, easygoing, instrumental. It just really depends on the genre and what's going to end up inspiring it.
Wow. I always tell authors, when you get writer's block, you have to do something to kind of shift the mindset and get you out of it. So music definitely is great. Sometimes for me, what helps is I kind of just go outside. I go to the park and I get my mind away from the frustration of writer's block. Or sometimes going to a library helps. I kind of go and I look at other books. I see what other authors are doing, and then I get motivated, and then I go back to my computer. Wow, so 33 books. So tell us a little bit about Strawberry Wine, and how did you come up with the title for that book?
The title came from pretty much my high school years. There was a country singer at that time, Deanne Carter, who had a song called Strawberry Wine, and it just made me think of those summers where anything is possible. You're young, you're out there having fun, you're experiencing life. So that just made me think of the title for the book. Strawberry Wine was probably one of the hardest books that I've had to write because it goes away from what I'm used to writing, even what I'm used to reading. It dived into going into things that there are hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people that they actually face and have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Like experiencing that love that you let fear get in the way of drug abuse, of regular abuse, of anything that can affect your life, that you have to figure out a way, whether you do it yourself or with help from others, you have to figure out that way to try and rise above it to help yourself to be able to not live with that part of your past affecting you. And
Mm-hmm.
so each for the women, they have their own thing, but they have their friendship that they form a bond that's like a sisterhood, that they had each other, that they had that help to be able to go ahead and rise above those difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just nothing ever stronger than that. If it wasn't for their friendship, it seems like in the book, it wouldn't have been able to really go to where it went to without having that bond.
Mm-hmm. So not only do you love to write, but you stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone and you try different things. You try different genres. That's really good. And this book seems very impactful and powerful because a lot of women experience that. Not even women, but just people in general. We life happens, right? Life happens, and so to read it in a story, that's amazing. And I don't know, when you were explaining it to me, I'm like thinking in my head, this could be a movie one day. Have you ever thought about having your books become movies one day or show?
With Strawberry Wine, I think that's the only one. I know that when I was telling another person about the book, they thought about it still Magnolias. I'm like, nope. I can kind of see some of the similarities, but no, I don't think it's quite up there. But I know it has that real life experience to where I can see it as being put on TV or even a movie. That would definitely be a dream come true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one that I can definitely see things going far with it because it looks at things in real life, like you said, with anybody. And there's more than just those things that goes on in life. There's job loss, there's losing people to illnesses and war, there's rape and molesting, there's abuse all over the field. That it's more going into real life type things.
Yeah. Wow. And so one quick question for you. When you sit down and you start to write, how do you come up with the ideas? Because you write so many different genres, so many different types of stories. Do you like go to sleep and it wakes you up in the middle of the night? Or like how do you come up with these ideas? Do you jot them down and have a going list of what you want to write about? Tell us more about that.
One of the fun things about writing is I've encountered a lot of writers that are similar to me, where the characters just kind of pop in your head and they will torment you until you write their story. And I think one of my favorite people, who is more of a comedian and actor, Jim Carrey, I remember in the early 2000s, he had done an interview that he has all these characters in his head that they don't really go away until you tell their story. And it's the same with a lot of writers I noticed. They come in, they tell your story, they'll badger you until you tell it. And that's happened on every single story that I've had, where they just pop in, they want you to tell your story, you tell it, they're done, they leave you alone. Strawberry Wine was the only one that was different. That's probably going to be the one different book out of all of them. With Strawberry Wine, the idea actually came in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
But when they told me their story, I'm like, okay, this is different. Sure, why not? But then once they started to tell their story, I'm like, nope, nope, not going there, not going to write it. Nope, nope, too much. But they kept coming back about 2 to 3 times a year with the story ideas. And every time I try to change the story, just writer's block would kick in. And
Mm-hmm.
this February, they popped in. I'm like, okay, fine, you win, we'll do it. And it ended up being a really good experience writing it, because I do know people who did experience each of those things. So it kind of helped dive into that different field.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because so I what do I write? I write children's books, and then I also write more like self-help type of books. But I know that feeling that as authors we get, where a character or a story starts to badger you and you feel it in your gut, and it's like telling you daily, write the book, write the book, write the book, and it just doesn't stop until you're like, okay, I surrender. And you sit down and you start writing. But that's good that you pay attention to your intuition or to the voices that tell you, like, hey, we have a story. I need you to share it for me. The characters talk to you. It's true. It's our authors. It's a real life thing. This happens to us, guys. How many more books do you plan on writing? Is this like a lifelong thing?
I don't really set a number on it. It's one that just as the stories come, I write them. It's usually where I can put out anywhere from 2 to 4 books a year, as long as everything's going good, the ideas are coming, it's not a busy year. There was, I think, 1 year where I only was able to get 1 book out, but it just was a crazy time. But it's not something that I want to give up because it is something that I definitely enjoy. I love reading as much as I like writing because it lets me just kind of escape from reality for a little bit and just let my imagination take over. So
I love
as long as I can do it. Yes.
I love books too, as you can tell. And reading is very important too as an author. I think that it helps us keep our mind going, and we're constantly learning new things. And so, for me, I think at least a half hour of reading every single morning, like 4:30 in the morning. I'm up reading my book so I can get my day started. So, do you have any other big projects that you're working on for the future, or what is your vision as an author with your books?
Pretty much, I think I'm one of those more laid back, easy and going type. It's one where I'm really bad at marketing, so I don't really market them. I write them more just because I love to write, and for those that go ahead and purchase them and read them, that I'm hoping that I entertain them as much as I enjoyed writing the book. And that's so important to me. I don't look at what I can get out of it financially or how many sales I get. It's more of how it makes me feel and how others can feel.
You're passionate about it.
Yeah, I am. So I look at things a little bit differently of that. It's not something that it may or may not become the only career that I do. It's just something that I do more for the love of it versus looking at any other aspect of it.
No, yeah, I definitely.
Oh, go ahead.
I said I definitely understand that feeling, that passionate feeling of like I'm doing something that I enjoy for me, Do you publish your books or do you go through a publishing company?
I self-publish them. I do it through KDP and Draft to Digital.
Draft to Digital. Yeah, I've heard of that one as well. So there's a lot of authors out there that or aspiring authors who have thought about writing books, or they have that gut feeling of like, there's a story inside of me, I need to get it out. But I'm afraid. I'm scared. I'm scared of what people will think. Or maybe I'm afraid that maybe I don't know how to write. Maybe I'm not that good of a writer. What would you tell that person, that aspiring author that wants to really write a book, but they're allowing their fears to take over?
I have to admit, I definitely know that fear factor, and it took just getting over it. I spent junior high and high school with my parents encouraging me to do it. But back then it was more like, you're my parents. No, I'm not going to do it. I regret it and I wish I listened. Because as I got older, the more the fear kind of came in. Like, can you really do this? Is it really possible? And the more I let those questions linger, the more I was like, no, I can't really do it. But then I decided to screw it and just do it.
Yeah.
So I did. And it was getting over that first book, getting that first book published is what got me over that hurdle. Because it was, well, I did it this time. Let's do it again and again. And just with each book, when it comes to writing, I don't know too many people to where their first book was that perfectly awesome, epic book.
Yeah.
With a lot of people I know, it's the worst book. And I'll be the first person to admit my first book is my worst book. So, I even have my own favorites. And that's one thing that I look at is I know you definitely got to use your imagination. You definitely got to do the research. You've got to get over that fear. And you can do it. Try not to obsess about the sales, about becoming that best-selling author, getting into that traditional publishing, because when you're letting those things get to you, those things can end up interfering with you. And I know people, and I even experienced it at the very beginning, to where you are checking your sales every single day. And when you see that you're barely selling or you're not selling anything, it ends up kind of making that balloon go out in you. But I know another author who's recently doing that, and we just keep saying, stop checking. Don't look at your sales. Just write. Just let it go. Don't, you publish it, market it the best you can, do what you can, but don't obsess over the sales. Don't obsess over the numbers. Just do what you feel is best for you and try and relax and chill once you get that first book out.
That's so true. And I can attest to this, that I've had moments where I call it doing it for the wrong reason, or doing it for the wrong thing, where I maybe I don't know if I would say obsessed, but I'm too like looking into like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing as an author and I'm not getting the results that I want to get. And so I start obsessing over that, and it's like, relax, just do it for the reason why you love to do it, and that's just because you're passionate about it. You love doing it. And so when you lead in life with that in mind, with that why of like, I just enjoy doing this and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, then you see traction. You know what I mean? Then you start to see the results. It's not forced or controlled, as I like to say. So that's definitely good. Do you still, 33 books later, do you still get those fears or those thoughts sometimes?
Sometimes I think it kind of depends on how I think of the book. It's one that when I'm honest with myself, I know I am no Nora Roberts, I'm no Stephen King. I'm not even going to put myself up to their status. I know that I've written books that are not the best. I know I have my favorites that I would recommend more than anything. So I don't want to put that pressure on myself, and I don't want to make people think that it is going to be the best book that they're ever going to read in their life, because everyone's going to have their own different opinion.
Yeah.
So it's one that there are things that I have to look at for myself as realistically and what I want to do. So I don't, some books it's kind of like I'll put it out. It's like, okay, cool. Kind of like a Christmas wish. That's probably one of the ones that are not my favorite, but it's one that when I published it, I tried so hard to make it seem something more better and something that might attract a bigger audience, but I couldn't think of anything. So I'm like, okay, we'll submit it. With Strawberry Wine, and there was another book, Captured. It took probably about 3 to 4 months before I decided to actually submit it to be published, because those are the two hardest books that I've ever written. Captured, it took me about 2 years to write.
Wow.
I had block after block on that one. I watched a lot of Paul Walker movies during that one. That seemed to undo the block for that book. With Strawberry Wine, it was more of, because I know that one has more realistic things in it, that it was harder for me to actually publish that one. But then I sucked it up and said it's something that needs to be done. So it just depends.
Yeah, I guess it does depend. What is one thing that you have learned, like maybe your biggest lesson as an author that you have learned over the past couple of years, writing and putting your books out there?
I think one of the biggest things I've learned is to just keep going. At the beginning, I was like many others, where you just want to be that best-selling author right away. It's going to be awesome. They're going to make movies off of it and everything. So it's one of those where I have every other author's dream with it. But it's one of those things that it takes a lot to get up to that status, and it's going to take a lot of time. So just one of those things is just keep doing what you're doing, keep trying harder, keep doing what you believe in. And it may have taken me 33 books, but that's kind of what I just started doing just recently, is finding more time to actually focus more on the books I've written, doing what I do. So it's knowing that you're gonna have to put more out there than just writing it and publishing it, editing it, and sitting back and doing nothing. There's gonna be a lot more to it.
Keep going and be patient as well, right?
Exactly.
I'm curious, do you write multiple books at the same time, or do you focus on one book, publish it, and then do another one?
Multiple books at a time.
How many, if you don't mind me asking?
I cannot do just one book. If I do just one book, I kind of feel stressed about it and overwhelmed, because then it's just focus on that one thing. And I can't do that. my ideas are going to come from one book, and then I might get ideas for another book that I have to switch. So there's going to be times where I'll be working on anywhere from 2 to 4 books at one time.
Wow. Wow. So like I said, I love to read. So I can read multiple books at the same time. Like I'll read one in the morning and then read one at night. Or I'll have one on my Kindle. So when I go to the doctor's or I'm in line paying for something, I'm reading on my Kindle. But I've never tried to write multiple books. That's a talent right there, because it takes your mind. You're going from this book to this book and you're having different ideas and different characters. That's really, really cool. That's awesome. What is one last thing that you would like to leave our listeners and viewers with?
I am a dreamer, so I would probably say just, whatever dreams you have, no matter how far out of reach they may seem, always go for them. Always go for what you're wanting to do. And one of the most important things to me that I actually teach my daughters is just being who you are and trust who you are, and know that you can get from one place to another just by being who you are.
That is beautiful and so awesome. Thank you for sharing. Where can our viewers and listeners reach out to you if they would like to connect with you? What is the best social media platform to connect with you?
Facebook is going to be the easiest, just because I am not really on Instagram too much or Twitter. So Facebook would probably be the easiest.
Awesome. And then your books are all on Amazon, correct?
They are.
Okay, perfect, guys. So if you're interested in reading some of her 33 books, you can check her out on Amazon, or you can, message her Facebook. She'll be more than happy to connect with you guys. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insight on your books, on your journey as an author. I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.